As veterans, we struggle to fit in. Taught to never let feelings win. Lost in a world full of fear and pain. We all have hung our heads in shame. When we look up, we see hands reaching out. There is so much support about it. Comes from above and others around. Please take a hand and rise from the ground. Stand up and fight for your life. Walk away from negativity. Don't give in to strife. Show up for yourself. Find your voice. Keep moving forward. You have a choice. Give compassion for the child inside. Healing pain, let hope reside. Lost you will no longer be. Then you can help set others free. Now speak up and with us share the tools that make pain easy to bear. Advocate for others to lighten their load. Use your voice and join our show. On Coffee Talk with Bryan and Marie, we heal out loud, PTSD to advocacy.
And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining us on another show of Coffee Talk with Bryan and Marie. What's going on, Marie? She got her new hairdo. It looks like she just got blown out or something.
I did. I actually cut my bangs. So thank you for noticing. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm doing pretty good, exhausted. I don't sleep very well. And I'm doing good. I got to tell you something that I didn't tell you. So the other day I met a person out in the wild. When I told him that
The wild behind you?
Yeah, yes, in this wild. Yeah. Yeah. No, so I told him that I was a podcast host. And he's like, oh, what's your podcast? And before he even finished, he's like, I know you guys. He's like, I could pull it up on my phone. I know you guys. Yeah. Apparently his brother started listening to us because of his PTSD stuff. And he's been listening to it, and it's been super helpful for him.
Give him a shout out if you remember the name. Do you remember? Did you get a name?
I don't remember his name.
I put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, but it's so amazing. So that is the second time out in the wild that somebody has said that they've heard of us, and so I am so excited.
That is always awesome to hear. Like it. Like I said, it's always refreshing to hear from others that do listen, because you always wonder. There's always statistics and all that stuff you can look at, but I don't feel like it really shows the faces of who's listening to your show. So I love when you hear someone and they're like, yeah, we appreciate your show. And there's so much that you can learn from this show, being just, you don't even have to be a veteran or a first responder. You can be a family member or just someone who's interested and intrigued with, maybe you wanted to join, maybe you thought about it and you're like, or maybe something medically kept you from doing it, whatever. And you can live vicariously through some of these folks that tell their stories about the current, what they've gone through, what they've been through, and what they're going through. We kind of go through it all. I really love what the podcast has done. I really feel like we've covered the good, the bad, and the ugly on the show, and we've allowed all the avenues to kind of show what this community is all about: the great, the bad, and we show the great because we want everybody to understand that there's so much greatness going on in the community. We show the bad because we want to weed that out, and we don't want the bad to continue, so we expose the bad. And and the ugly as well. So there's just things that we got to sometimes talk about, flush it out, and be done with it, right? And move forward. I've just recently had to kind of cut off, a fellow veteran, and I- just for the reasons, I didn't like the way that this person treated Marie, right? And then I had several discussions with this individual about this, and then this is the only time I'm going to talk about this, and I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to talk about the situation. But I had told this individual, because Marie knew that I knew this individual, and matter of fact, that individual came to me as about the same time Marie did, and he kind of told me, but he didn't go into the specifics of what he was saying. He just more or less just said he wasn't going to put her on his podcast and all these things, and he just didn't agree with her story and things of that nature. And that's when I was just like, dude, that goes against everything that I'm for right now and what the mission is of the show that I do. It's all about healing out loud. It's all about allowing people to share a story. It may not be yours, and it may not look like yours, and it may not sound like yours, and it may not be as good as yours or whatever. But the matter of fact that it doesn't excuse you to blast someone because you didn't like their story or the way that it was told. And sometimes it exposes things that people don't want to be exposed. But I'm sorry, don't do horrible things and it won't be exposed. But we've never gone on here and mentioned any names or of the such. So this person decided that he was going to go on and do a apology, and came on and did an apology, and I was blown away by it. I was completely blown away by the apology and the way that it was handled. It didn't go. It was not an apology. You know what I mean? So
I haven't even heard about that. So
yeah.
okay.
One second. All right, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. So anyhow, I went and seen the apology, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't my idea of an apology. It was basically excusing what he did and still kind of continuing down the same path. And the part that bugs me the most about it is that this person is a mental health advocate. And that's what he primarily focuses on, is mental health. And one thing that I had to sit there and tell him, and I hope he's learned from this no matter what, however the outcome is. But I said, when you decide that you want to become an advocate of something, you have to learn how to be diverse. You have to learn to be able to deal with all walks of life, no matter what. Because when you're an advocate, you're advocating for something, and it doesn't just fit one person, male, female, combat, non-combat, whatever it may be. You're dealing with all folks under the mental health umbrella, right? So he'd made 2 attempts of a public apology, and both of them were just about the same, right? And I just, like I said, I can't support that kind of stuff, and I'm not the kind that I'm going to go around and bash people, because I'm not going to do that. But you cross me twice in a level, then I may go to that level and expose you. But I'm not out there to do that. That's not what the goal of this show is. The goal is to heal out loud. But if there's people out there that are going to piss on that, or going to have some kind of negative, antidote towards it, someone's story, they didn't like it, the show's not for you, because this show is open to all stories in all walks of life, whether you like it or you don't like it. And a lot of times with these, if you don't like something, you're more than likely to just shut it down and watch the next show and go on to the next story. it doesn't fit your narrative, doesn't fit your life, doesn't fit what you're looking for, you just go on and move on to the next one. But to sit there and go and behind and go privately message someone and then bash them is not a good thing. Marie is at a level where she's just getting her feet wet with introducing herself out to the community and telling her story. Why does she want to have someone throwing rocks at her? Anybody that's coming out to talk about their story and gets rocks thrown at them, they're going to be a lot more timid to tell their story the next go around, right? So I won't tolerate that. At no level, I don't give a crap what rank you were. I don't care how long you served. You're not going to treat our fellow veterans like that, male or female, deployed, not deployed. I will not tolerate that ever. All right,
Bryan,
now,
that means a lot. That means a lot that you are willing to stand up for me, as I am so raw with this stuff. The emotions right on the surface, as it is, right now.
Well,
and
because you don't even know what I've been doing on the background, right? Because I haven't even told you any of this, because it's just been doing it, right?
I
because
appreciate it.
Yeah, because I felt that to make right, he did owe you an apology and stuff. So he attempted, and I was going to tag you, but I was like, no way am I tagging her in this. I was super disappointed when I saw it. So I just didn't want to, bring it into you. And that I'm just sharing it because I just want it to be known that I got your back, dude. And I got anybody's back that's willing to come out here and tell their story. I'm going to freaking protect you. I'm going to protect your mental health. That's what we're all here for, right? And not to tear each other down. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm advocating out here is we got to cheer each other on. Good, the bad, and the ugly, man. Our experiences, she's out here telling her story, not because she's proud of what she's done. She's out here telling because she wants to talk about it, because she's trying to make good. She's healing from it. She's trying to move forward, and she's trying to show everybody out there your story, no matter how big or whatever, it's worth telling. And you shouldn't be afraid to tell it. And there shouldn't be repercussions for you telling your story. And I stand very firm on that. And so with that being said, I want to make sure everybody out there is doing well. Remember, if you're struggling, for you veterans out there, there's 988 press 1. And even if you're not a veteran, you can also call the Crisis Lifeline and just press 988. Hopefully it will put you in touch with some resources that get you in the right direction of some help, someone that can help you where you're struggling. If there's resources, whatever it may be. And I understand, one thing about in the veteran world, you can get thrown into these telephone number rings and go around the rosy, but just keep pushing. You know what I mean? I've been through them myself, and I just learned that you just got to keep going. A lot of these things are designed to do is make you stop, but you just got to keep pushing, right? We attack the fucking hill. And that's, we are trained to keep on pushing. That's, it doesn't just stop on the battlefield or when you EAS. It continues throughout your life. You keep on pushing. You know what I mean? All right, Marie, let's go ahead and do one of your amazing poems, and we'll go ahead and get on with our guests. I know we've been keeping them long enough, and I had that interruption in between. So we'll go ahead and let you do your thing and bring them on. I'm going to go ahead and just.
Thank you, Bryan. And this is actually perfect topic that goes with my poem as normal. We definitely are aligned. It's very much God is guiding this whole thing. Whatever you want to call your God, whatever your higher power is, there is a higher power guiding it all. And this poem that I wrote last week is actually about that whole finding the joy in the chaos of the healing and the chaos of the creation of us. Because as we are learning, as we're growing, things are messy, and some people don't like the messy. They don't like your messy. They don't like their own messy, and that's okay. But what I try to do is share my story for others so that they can see that it's messy. And as you're healing, that messiness turns into goodness. And so this is a poem that I wrote that's called "It Is Good." Among matter unorganized, from the viewpoint that he stood, on day one of creation, God saw it was good. Not just for the potential of a product made concrete, he saw beauty in the chaos and when it was complete. He didn't expect day 2 to have the results of day 6. Like a cake, it's better eaten after you bake the mix, yet there's nutrition found in each ingredient. And once the cake is finished, there's satisfaction eating it. I'm finding I have worth no matter if I fall. At the beginning of my own creation, I'm learning how to crawl. When others hurt me, I'm learning to let go, not react to them or put on a show. I know that it is God shaping my response. I am being molded the way he wants. I still have many days before I am perfected. I try to remember that the chaos is directed. When life is explosive or I feel unease within, that creates potential for new life to begin. For it is through struggle that strength is truly found. Examples of this truth are seen all around. When God finished on day 7, he knew he did his best. Together, we're creating me, and one day I'll also rest. I can't imagine what the end result will be. I know it is more perfect than I can foresee. For now, I'll find joy in each day of creation, eagerly awaiting that heavenly destiny. For so many years, I never understood. Today, I embrace chaos, knowing it is good.
All right. Thank you so much for that amazing poem. And of course, you always do find the right one for, with what's going on. And like I said, we didn't even talk about none of this stuff, and I didn't bring it up to her attention because I didn't really want to, I didn't want her to feel some kind of way about it. And, because it didn't really turn out the way I thought it would, but I just wanted to, like I said, it just needed to be noted out here for the everybody else to understand that what you do can affect others, and your words are powerful. So just be careful with how you use your words and what you say, and especially when someone's out there trying to tell their story. It's not like you see her glamorizing of what she's doing. She's half the time she's just weeping and very much in sorrow, living in she's very sorry for the things she's done. She's ashamed of things. You know what I mean? And we don't need someone else to go and make it worse. But let's go ahead and introduce our next guest. Marie, you ready?
Yes. And again, Bryan, thank you. And yeah, for anybody else who's struggling, it's okay. It sucks and it's okay. And you're going to have people that aren't going to agree with how you're healing, and that's okay too. Just keep moving forward in the way that you need to. And if you ever need someone to talk to, please reach out to me or Bryan. We're here, and we'll help you get resources if you need them.
Thanks.
So transitioning, I am super excited to have this next guest on. He is doing some amazing work in advocacy as well, and helping people be able to find joy in their lives amongst their struggles. And I'm so excited. We've had, some of our fellow podcasters that has interviewed him, and so they speak very highly of Kevin and everything that he's doing. And we're excited to have him come on and share his story and what he's doing to advocate. So
he's active.
Yes, active duty. Yes. And so we are interviewing Kevin Lombardo, who has served more than 30 years in the United States Air Force as a security forces officer. He deployed 6 times to the Middle East in support of combat operations. Throughout his career, he led airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines in high-risk environments, protecting U.S. forces in critical missions. His service left lasting impacts, including traumatic brain injury, chronic PTSD, hearing loss, and other duty-related injuries. In 2014, Kevin married his wife, Sandy, and together they blended their family of 5 children while navigating the constant moves and demands of military life. Through their travel business, Valor Vacations, they saw firsthand how veterans, military members, first responders, and Gold Star families struggle to afford meaningful vacations. Inspired by this, Kevin and Sandy created Boots to Beaches, a nonprofit dedicated to providing cost-free restorative vacations for veterans, active duty service members, first responders, and Gold Star families. Kevin believes healing often begins with time, family, and peace, sometimes found with boots in the sand and loved ones by your side. Kevin, we're so excited to have you come on up.
Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thank you very much, Bryan and Marie. That poem was outstanding. Definitely hit me in the feels there. So that was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, Kevin, we're excited to have you on. We're excited to hear all about your life, and what you're willing to talk about. Give us a little bit of a background about you, where you grew up, what made you decide to join the military. Talk about the branch you joined, what job you decided to go into, if that was your plan. And I know you're still currently serving, and obviously with DOD and things like that. We understand you're allowed to only speak about what you can speak about, and that's totally understood. And then we'll talk about what your plans are when you get out, man, because that's the one part about it is you haven't hit the ground as a veteran yet, and so we got a whole community with arms wide open, getting ready to welcome you in. But the amount of time you've served as well, I imagine we're going to hear a lot of stories, and that's a long time, man. I mean, you've been serving longer than you've been, probably than anything else you did in your life. So let's go ahead and the floor is all yours, Kevin.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. So I grew up in a town called Bainbridge Township in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, about 30 miles east of Cleveland. I was the youngest of 8 children, 2 girls and 6 boys. My mom and dad are second generation Italians, Sicilians coming. My grandparents were all born in Italy and Sicily. My dad was a disabled Navy veteran. He was in the tail end of World War II, and he got hurt, and he had just a bunch of things happen to him. But he went to work as a bricklayer, and then he went through a few jobs, and then at the end of his work career, he had an awesome job. Being the youngest of 8, we never went without anything. My dad worked hard. My mom was that typical Italian lady. There was always pasta in the fridge. There was always food ready to go for tons of friends that would come over and stuff like that. So it was a great upbringing. The school I went to, Kenston High School, was fantastic. My friends, still friends today, graduated 35 years ago. So I had a good upbringing. But 1989, 90, I was looking to see what I wanted to do with my life. My oldest brother, Jay, he joined the Air Force as an enlisted member. My brother, Chris, joined the Air Force as an enlisted member. My brother, Steve, became a Navy corpsman. So, they were great role models for me. And I was like, hey, the Air Force and Navy has done great things with them. Let me think about what I wanted to do. So I did go the college route for the first 3 years. Worked, I was a manager at Blockbuster Video when they were still around. So
I think you just aged yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I know I did. And, going to college, being a manager there, it was decent money. At that time, I had met my first wife, and, things happened and a baby came. So
before you go in there, I just have to ask. So one of the things that we like doing is talking to people who have family members that are veterans. And you said that your dad was a veteran, you've got siblings as a veteran. So before you continue on going into your story as a veteran, what was it like having a dad who was at the tail end of World War II and having siblings in the military? What was it like being the family member before you joined?
So my dad, like those old World War II guys, they really didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about the things that happened. I knew he was in the Navy. It wasn't until probably later on in his life, when my brother was, E5, E6, coming home and, start having conversations. But, it wasn't too much. But later on, when I was a junior, senior in high school, my dad was going through a lot of problems, and the VA, he had put his first claim in like 1964, 1965 of having trouble breathing. And for years we saw him decline and everything. And gradually he got 20%, 30%, 40%. But, so it was hard for my dad. He ended up in the end of the war, he was working on refrigerator ships. So he was on in the Pacific, and they would go from San Francisco to Hawaii, and they'd have all the refrigerated foods and everything. The only way that they could pack those things was with like 2 feet of asbestos around the containers. So all those years, those Navy guys were breathing that stuff in at 16, 17, 18 years old. And later on in life, that's actually what took his life, was mesothelioma and stuff like that. So I mean, but again, he didn't talk about too much things. It was just that generation that did that. Tough son of a bitch. Oh, sorry if I swear there, but he was tough,
good, man.
he was a tough son of a bitch, and I think he did pave the way for my brothers and I to do it. He said, you're going to get disciplined. You're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You're going to get health insurance, and you might see some of the world and everything else.
That generation was just built different,
They're different.
It's just, it's wild to me how most of them just came home and pretty much just went back to their lives, and it's almost like they didn't want to bring out
people.
And they didn't want to bring out the demons. They just wanted to keep the demons back where they left them and not bring them home or something. And like, they just didn't want to talk about it. You don't talk about it, you don't see it, it didn't happen, type thing. I don't know. I don't know, but it's just, it is wild, the different generations and how they've reacted to conflict and war and have dealt with things. At some point in time, we found that it's super unhealthy, right? And where people were really stuck in their own head and stuff like that. So I do like hearing about that generation, because it is just a different, their mindset was a lot different than today.
Yeah. And one thing I can say is, when they did have casualties and other things like that, they had a 15, 16, 20 day, route back from Hawaii to get to San Francisco. And, they did the mission until it was done. Our generation, you're in a combat zone, and 3 days later you're sitting in a living room with your wife and kids. And, that's what happens. So, and I know that was a big thing, the difference between, his generation and our generation.
I think another difference in the generations too is back in those days, there was a lot more economic hardships. Mm-hmm. And that my thought process is going into like, yeah, they dealt with PTSD and whatnot, but it was no different from my understanding of the past. It really is no different. I mean, it is different, but they were already dealing with the economic hardships and a lower life expectancy and a lot more traumas in their everyday life that when they deployed, it was kind of like, well, this is just part of, you just drink
Are you
water.
saying
and
we're
move on.
coddled? Are you saying are we
Yes,
coddled?
very much.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think you
Yeah.
might have a point there.
Yeah. And so it's like they kind of already they were working harder, and they were experiencing a lot more hardships than we have now. And so it just became, this is a way of life. Oh, this is just, okay, this shit happened. Now let's keep moving forward. What's next? And so yes, it's not necessarily healthy that they weren't processing through it, but I think that was just their norm for them, and that's shitty. And so I wanted to ask, I know that everybody who was dealing with all that stuff, they dealt with PTSD. Did your father also, and we don't I'm not trying to ask you to like shame him or glorify him, but my question is like, did he struggle with trauma responses that you guys picked up on as children? Is that something, because that's something we like to talk about, is how does our trauma responses affect our family members? So I'm just curious.
Growing up with 8 kids and an Italian dad, we're loud. We use our hands a lot.
Right.
If you say no, and or you say some. I mean, to me, and again, it was normal. It was normal for us. But when my friends came over, they'd be like, "Holy crap, man! Like your dad was pissed, wasn't he?" And so through life and everything, you realize. Again, different generation, different things. His dad was like, I need you to go to do this, and he spit on the floor and said, you better be back before that dries, or I'm gonna whoop you. So that's how my dad was raised. Now he didn't do that to us, but if we screwed up, we got a good old smack, and
he
stuff
had
like
a
that.
good dose of healthy fear installed into everybody. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. I think that generation, it was no nonsense. It's they don't want excuses, they want results type stuff. That's kind of how they always were. Because we are so coddled, right? I mean, it's a good point. Is we are coddled in the way that we have too much at our dispersal to make things easy. Back then, they didn't, right? So with your dad, you guys never really saw anything that would like you stood out to be anything different for you guys. This is just you the way you guys grew up, and I think that's a good point, because I mean I would go over to my Hispanic buddy's house, and his mom would be like, and I'm thinking he's getting cussed out and stuff and yelled at, and he's like, no man, this is my mom telling me I have to go make my bed later. And I was just like, oh, all right. You know what I mean? He's just like, I'm not used to that kind of stuff, right? Because my household was different. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for going into a little bit more details. It's always fun to hear the generational stuff. Continuing on with your story, you go to high or college.
Yeah. So I'm in college down at in Fort Myers, Florida. So I was going to University of South Florida. It got cold up in Ohio. So when my mom and dad moved down to Florida, that was a logical move for me to move down there too. I really enjoyed it down there. And again, I started college. I started working at Blockbuster. 1 week I was working regular stuff, and a month later I was actually a manager of the store. So it was good. Money was good, but something right here just wasn't hitting me. I had my wife at the time, and then I had a daughter. I was 22, 23, and I was like, this just isn't for me. My goal was I wanted to be a federal law enforcement officer. I wanted to go FBI. I wanted to do all these things. But life was just happening. So, I walked into the Air Force recruiter one day and said, hey, what do you got? What do you got? And 8 weeks later, I was leaving for basic training down to Lackland Air Force Base, and enlisted, and started my career in '96, in April of 1996.
Was that the
It
was that the first office that you went into was Air Force, or did you go talk to other recruiters?
No, it was Air Force. I knew I wanted to do either Air Force or Navy. I did talk to a Navy recruiter, but it just, I always liked the Air Force. With my brother, two of my brothers, my other brother, he wanted to go into medical, so Navy was a good fit for him. Again, I wanted to do my 4 years in the Air Force and get out and try to go a federal job or something like that. So I did my basic training, and then my tech school down in Lackland at the time I was a security policeman. Went through the law enforcement academy down there, and my first base was Incirlik, Turkey. That was a very interesting place, especially with a very young baby and my wife at the time. It was considered a combat zone, and
okay.
to have families in a combat zone, because they were still dealing with all the Operation Northern Watch in 1996. So there was planes taking off every day with bombs and coming back empty, and then the Turks would go out and then they would bomb northern Iraq where the Kurds were. So it was like we were dropping aid on the Kurds, food and water, and then the Turks would go right back there the next day and bomb them. So it was a very interesting assignment. I learned a lot. There was I think we had close to 12,000 people that lived in Tent City. It was a 24-hour operation there, so people would get off work at 7 a.m. and they were allowed to drink. And when there's drinking and other things like that, they like to fight, they like to party. And with that, people get drunk, people get stupid, people get jealous, and they like to fight. So we would have some good fights, with the military people, and we would go in, clean them up, kick them out, handcuff them for about 30, 40 minutes, and then let them go to their first sergeants. So it was a great first base. I did 2 years there. And
how did they let you? Okay, two questions there. A, how did they let you have your family there? And B, how did that affect your family?
Oh, it was actually, Turkey's a beautiful, beautiful country. Now there are some parts to it that are third world like and everything else, but they wanted to keep families there. There was a couple reasons, political reasons, that they still wanted families there. Now it's back to single military people that go there. But at the time they wanted to keep it family. And again, I think it was more economic or more political reasons why they did that. We were far enough away from hostilities, but we also, had that threat from Iraq on a daily basis, because we were still at war. We're still going back and forth with Iraq. So, so yeah, that was my first good experience. I got to do some what we call flyaway missions, where we had to go to different places to either secure aircraft that had to emergency land or other things like that. So at a young enlisted age, I got to do some really cool things. And then 2 years later, I went to Belgium, and I worked at a site in Belgium. Let me go back a few, but my second daughter was actually born in Turkey. So she's my little Turk, Lydia. And then we PCS like probably about 8 weeks after she was born, and went up to Belgium. Great assignment, beautiful, right by the Dutch and German border. I was working at a site there. I got to travel all over Europe for work and everything. So that was another great assignment. 2 years later, packed up and went to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. That's when the war was really starting to kick off in 2000. All this pre 9/11. But this is when tensions were high. We knew there was a bunch of things happening. I deployed the first time. Well, that was actually my third deployment. But my 6-month deployment, I went to Ali Al Salim in Kuwait. This again pre 9/11. It was fun.
Ali Al
You
Salim,
know,
Kuwait, huh? I've been to that.
yeah.
I've been to that base.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. I tell you, the hottest and coldest day ever was July 4th, 2001. It got up to about 153 degrees that day, and we're out there with no shirts on, playing volleyball. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and then that night it got down to 67 degrees. Doesn't sound that cold, but you're looking at almost 100-degree drop. People were freezing. They somebody decided.
I only kind of wished, man, because I only remember being like 110 still that damn night, dude.
Yeah, it was freezing. Somebody tried to put a heater on in one of the tents, caused a fire, and next thing you know, that night there's 12 tents on fire. People are being wrapped in those astronaut blankets, and it was just crazy. So I made it about 3.5 months into that deployment, and I got a call. It was late August, and I got a call from my commander back in McDill. He says, "Hey, you're getting on an airplane in 5 days coming back home. You got selected for a commissioning program." So I had applied for a commissioning program. I applied for OTS, got accepted, but the time frames weren't working out for me. So I was able to go register at Kent State University in Ohio, where I was from. I had family there. And I flew back home on August, I think 28th, 29th, packed up my family, wife and 2 kids, and drove to Ohio. I started college on September 8th, and then September 11th kicked off 3 days later. I was torn. I was absolutely, and because I got the offer like, hey, you could go back if you wanted to, because paperwork's not even done, and so that was a tough decision. I talked it over with my brother. My dad had already passed away at this time, so I talked it over with my brother, and he says, hey, you'll be an officer in 8 months. Stick it out and stuff like that. So I worked on my master's degree, and it was tough to see my brothers and sisters military brothers and sisters, and my brother, deploy and do all the things. At that time, he was a C-130J crew chief and with SOCOM, and so he was in the thick of things, very quickly. I just felt like I was like, oh man, just sitting there in school, with 19, 20-year-olds. I'm 30 years old at the time, and it was just hurt. It was hurting me pretty bad. But I stuck it out, got my commission the following year, and then went up to Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota and started work there. My wife at the time got pregnant again, and this time it was twins. We got twins up in North Dakota, and it was a good 3 years. So it's just a lot of things.
Double trouble.
Yeah, double trouble, boy and a girl, and so we'll get into a little bit of a different story on them in just a little bit. So I did 3 years in North Dakota. I didn't deploy out of there. I was in the working in the missile field, so protecting some of our high priority assets up there. And then 3 years later, I left and went to Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. I was the operations officer at the Security Forces Squadron there, and that's when I deployed for my 4th time, but first time as an officer. Went to I was at Task Force 134 in Baghdad. I was working the Saddam Hussein trial, which was extremely
high level.
Man, it was as a first lieutenant, I was a little bit mature, so I mean I kind of got handpicked to go there, and it was a senior captain's position, but one of my bosses said, hey, we want to put you here. Worked for a 2-star Army general. It was a really, really eye-opening experience, just because we had to go to the downtown area, to the courthouse every week or two. So that drive was always, are we going to make it? Are we not going to make it? So we lost a few good people, the PSD teams and other things like that when they were doing it. So, but I was about 2.5 months into that deployment when my entire world just went upside down. Got a call from a friend of mine. He said, "Hey, your twins are in the hospital." I was like, I don't understand. What do you mean? I said, I just.
How old are they at this point in time?
They were just shy of 3 years old.
Oh,
just shy of 3 years old.
Both of them. Okay.
Yeah, both of them in a hospital. I finally, it was rough for him. He was an Air Force major at the time, and I'd known him for about 5 years at this time. And he was like, the twins had gotten into a medicine bottle that was that wasn't put away properly, and they had both ingested a lot of medicine. I talked to the doctor. I talked to my wife at the time, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, if you need to get back home." And as you know, getting home from the Middle East is tough, but getting home from Baghdad at 11:45 or like 11 o'clock at night is just, it takes something special.
Was this did this come across as a Red Cross message, or did it?
No, this came just as a phone call that I had given my buddy. I'd given my buddy the number of the battle watch and everything else, and he called that number, and they came and picked me up, and I went and called, and at that time, I mean, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. My 2-star was in the building. Our chief of staff was in the building, and then we had like a little battle watch floor that 3 or 4 2 guys and a gal that was working in their Army, Air Force, and a Navy JAG officer that were always working. And
so you had the people there that you needed in the moment.
I needed, and the most important person there, once the chief of staff, chief of staff pulled me off to his office right away, said, what's going on? And this guy was probably a 65-year-old Army colonel who, was a reservist, but he just kept serving. He was fantastic. And he left me there for a second, went into the general's office. General, came in, said, "Hey, go grab your gear, go grab a bag and come back here." And so one of the guys drove me back. I just packed up just a duffel bag and came back. And by that time, the general's PSD team was recalled, and they got a 3-ship formation. And we got together, did what we always do when we go off base. Did our huddle up, our prayer. Smacked each other, slammed a couple rivets, and got into the Humvees and traveled to Biop Airport. And again, that road is not fun during the day, and at night you just don't know what the heck is going on. So I showed up, and there was a C-130 on the pad. An Air Force tech sergeant ran out. She gave me a set of orders and a plane ticket, and she ran me out to the C-130. Crew chief, looked at me and said, "You must be important because we got to get you to LUD Air Base right now." So I was the only person on the flight. My head was just spinning. I didn't know what the heck was going on.
Too much time on your hand and not. Yeah. Wow. No. And I imagine your wife's just losing her mind at this rate in time too, man. Because she's there she's by herself, really. I mean, I don't know if you had family or whatnot, but
yeah, I had called my brothers, my sisters, and I didn't know who was going there or who was doing anything.
How amazing it is that they were able to get this done so quickly.
Yeah, it was. Again, I only had 2 phone calls. I didn't know what was going on. So I got to LUD Air Base. I got off, made a phone call, called the same number I did before. Then my brother Chris, he's a Air Force, disabled veteran. He was there. He flew in from California, just a quick flight over, and so he said, how far away are you? And I was like, I'm, at least a day and a half away. And he just said, hey, things just aren't looking good. And he said, my son is doing a little bit better, but my daughter's not. So I had to wait 7 hours. They took me to the airport. I went from I went from Doha Airport to Schiphol in Amsterdam, and then from Amsterdam to Atlanta. I was about 35, 40 minutes from landing in Atlanta. And I tell you, you did your poem earlier about, spiritual stuff and everything. And, I had a dream. I had a dream that my baby girl came to me and everything. And I remember looking at my watch, and it was 12, it was, about 3:30 p.m. And I was like, okay, it's about 12:30 back I did the calculations, 3:30 back in Colorado. I landed. There was a rep there from the airline with a cell phone, and handed it to me, and it was my brother. And he said, we lost her 25 minutes ago. It was almost like, it was rough. I mean, my entire psyche, my entire thing just went to a different place. I got on a plane, another plane from Atlanta to Denver, and then from Denver, a short flight to Colorado Springs, and went back. And things in my life, never were the same from that. It's horrible to think, marriages, when you lose a child, it's almost like a 57, it's even higher percentage of divorce rates and stuff like that. We did a bunch of things, counseling, this and that, but years later, we kind of knew, like, real over the next probably year or two, that things weren't working out. And a couple of years later, my wife at the time and I, got divorced. But what
was the outcome for your son? Was he able to recover from this as well, or?
So he made a great recovery. Physically, nothing happened, but mentally, over the years, he's 23 years old now,
Okay.
and he's serving in the Air Force.
Oh wow!
So he had some, he lost his best friend. He lost his twin. Every day he asked for her. Every day he was saying when she was coming home, and it was just,
he didn't understand that at all, huh?
No, I mean, he was 2.5 or almost 3 years old, and so he was looking for her, and it was hard. My oldest was 9. My middle daughter was just about to turn 6.
Did they think that maybe she ingested more, or is it just that her little body wasn't able to handle it as much, or is it just they didn't know, or?
They think she might have ingested a little bit more. And when we're talking about 2-3 pills.
Yeah, no kidding,
it's
man.
just something that got so my entire life changed there.
I think that it's beautiful that you were able to have that spiritual.
I
that you were able to have that spiritual moment and get to see her one last time. Yeah, I think that is beautiful.
Without a doubt, she came to me, and I saw her. And when I woke up, I had this sense of, I didn't need that phone call from my brother, because I knew she was gone. Something just hit me and everything. And so, yeah, that was tough. I probably should have done more for my kids with counseling and everything, but I was dumb. I was stupid. I was stubborn. You know, the last thing in the world I wanted to do was go talk to.
You don't even know how to deal with it, bro.
You
Like,
were,
I mean,
yeah,
there's
you're
no
processing.
manual to any of this, you know.
Yeah.
That's
There's
not
no
dumb. That's not stupid.
Yeah.
That was you dealing with your own trauma.
Yeah, we went through a little bit of counseling. You know, the worst thing in the world for me at that time, yeah, as the number 2 in the unit, was that you know, having your gun tag, you know, your gun's tagged with that red thing that says "Do not arm." So to have number 2 gun, you know, the 9mm and M4 tagged with "Do not arm," everybody saw that, and everybody knew what I was going through, and everybody was super supportive. But it was
they
you know,
put a
it was
label
tough.
on you, and they did put a label on you almost in a way
Yeah, it's a stigma.
others could see, right?
Yeah, so I mean, everybody in the unit. I mean, we had
You're probably
295
getting
people in
past
the unit.
judgment in some cases, you know what I mean? It's that's a I
Yeah, and you
imagine that
get that.
added on a little bit more of, you know, some of the
Yeah,
psych and the mental health, you know, issues that you
yeah.
probably
I mean,
experience.
you would hear. I mean, some of the older enlisted guys be like, "Oh, suck it up and press on." You know, they didn't say it to my face, but I would hear it. Like, "Oh, the Air Force didn't issue me a family. That's why I'm still single." Well, that's why you're single, because you're an idiot. But
Yeah.
but it was tough. It was about 6 weeks that I was finally, you know, I talked to my commander. I said, "Hey, I was still doing my job. I just couldn't arm up. I just couldn't go out to when I go out to post or go work with the troops at the gate. I always like to arm up. So that's the only thing I couldn't do. So started back to work. I like immersed myself into work. I would go in at 6, stay till 8. I just couldn't go home. It was
This
just
was
so,
you. This is how you were trying not to deal
yeah,
with it, right?
right. And you know, and then like about right after the 6 weeks, I got asked. Well, I didn't get asked. I got told that I was deploying again. And I
So
was
you really
deploying.
didn't have a lot of time to process through. And like you're not only grieving, and I just want to, you know, say like I empathize so much because it's like
Yeah.
you not only lost your daughter, you're also dealing with a son who is struggling and who is healing. You're
And a
also
wife.
dealing with your
Yeah,
well,
and
that's
2
what I was going to
daughters.
say.
Yeah.
But and then you have yeah, your other children that are dealing with losing their sibling, and then the struggle with your wife and how she's handling it and mourning the relationship that is being lost, like actively being lost as you're grieving your child, and then to have the work stuff on top of it. And now 6 weeks, drink water, drive on, let's go. Like
Yeah.
that is intense.
Now, Kevin, you don't necessarily have to answer this, but did your wife feel like, I mean, obviously it happened when she was there. Did she have guilt? And I mean, was there some kind of resentment that you were deployed and you were gone and you weren't there? I mean, you know, I know that sometimes when grief hits, man, you just kind of, you know, you lash out on others. And I imagine that it being in a marriage and stuff like that, and you being deployed, that's obviously a hard part already. And I just wondered if that, you know,
It definitely was. You know, my whole thing, you know, being a policeman, I want to know what happened. You know, did it? You know, was the pill bottle? You know, we didn't have a locker. You know, after that, we definitely had a locker. But you know, was it put on properly? The cap. You know, we figured. You know, there was teeth marks on the cap. So there was things that, you know, yeah. So and you know, the police department, they did a test, and they went with the hospital at the children's hospital. The children's hospital, you know, gave 3 lock bottles, you know, different sizes to a group of 2 and 3-year-olds, and like 3 of the kids got into those lock things. So you know, they figured it out, or they did something. It's supposed to pop off, and then the thing is still on there. But you know, we just don't know if it was a a defected bottle, or when you put a cap on, was it all the way on? So there was a lot of things going on. People questioning us, people questioning her and everything. So it was rough on her also.
And you probably went into logic mode instead of emotional mode, because you're like, I can't handle the emotions of this, so I need to distance myself from this and look at it from a police officer point of view.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was tough. So going back, it was 6 months to the day that when I buried my daughter, that I was heading back over to Iraq.
Wow.
And I went to, or actually I had to leave about at the 5-month mark to go to McCord Air Force Base and do training with the Army to be go to detainee operations at Camp Bucca. It was difficult. It was difficult, but I hate to say it, but it was an escape for me to not have to worry about all that. So it was a little bit different. I was just trying to. I had a great support system of friends who were there in Colorado Springs with me, that deployed with me. My good friend Brandon. So it was a difficult time, but going to Camp Bucca was good for me, but bad for my family, and I realized that a little bit later.
All right, well, Kevin, we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity. We're going to kind of do a little bit of a transition. This is a good time to do our veteran showcase. And then when we come back, we'll kind of talk about a little bit more about where you're at now. We'll get to boots to beaches and hear all the other great things that you're doing, and hear about what you got planned for yourself as you're going to be in the veteran community soon as well.
Thank you so much for being so raw and vulnerable and sharing this. Like that is, I can't even imagine. I've been to one child funeral before, and it broke my heart, and I can't imagine what it's like to be the parent. And so thank you for being raw and vulnerable, because there's going to be a lot of listeners who need to hear this, because they've been through it, and they sometimes feel alone. So just thank you for being so raw and vulnerable.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So now we're going to go ahead and do our veteran showcase. But before I bring it on, we're going to do Kimberly Meyer. She is a Nebraska-based singer-songwriter, Army bandmaster, and multi-instrumentalist, known for her powerful vocals, instrumental skills, and versatility across country, rock, and classic genres. She is a Nebraska Country Music Foundation Hall of Fame inductee and a United Republic Records record artist. So we're going to go ahead and listen to her. She is part of the 147th Army Band's Country Classic Rock Ensemble in the South Dakota Army National Guard. So we're going to go ahead and listen to her. Now I'm going to go ahead and send everybody back and get to listen to Kimberly Meyer.
Spinning around on a merry-go-round, seeking the meaning of life on the ground. Where do we go? Oh, where do we go? Dreaming of things that may never come true. Failure may find me, but I still have you. Yeah, I still have you. Why does life seem to pass me by? We'll never know where it leads. we go? Oh, where do we go? Climbing and falling is part of the game, but I know you save me when the dreams fade away. Yeah, the dreams fade away. Why does life seem to pass me by? You'll never know where it leads, where it goes. But as long as I have you by my side, well, baby, I feel like I am alive. Yeah, I am Winds may blow on this playground below. Just hold me close and never let go. Why does life seem to pass me by? We'll never know where it leads, where it goes. But as long as I have you by my side, well, baby, I feel like I am alive. Yeah, I am alive.
All right. That right there was Kimberly Meyer, and had the honor to meet her, going to Hero Stock. We've talked about Hero Stock. Had a great opportunity to meet so many great singer-songwriters, authors, CEOs of nonprofits and stuff. So it was just a great place to network. But she has an amazing voice. I tell you what, I'll let her sing me lullabies tonight, to go to sleep, right? But all right, Kevin, let's go ahead and finish up. You have a long career to talk about, so we'll go ahead and finish up a little bit more on your career, and then what you got going on with Boots to Beaches, and like I said, we'll talk
Sure.
about what your plans are.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. So Iraq, second time, 6-month deployment. Well, actually turned into a 7-month deployment. We got hit a few times, rockets, everything. Luckily, no injuries to any allied forces or anything. Went back home, thinking that things would possibly get better. It didn't. My wife at the time and I kind of knew where we were heading, and 6 months later, deployments came again and said, "Hey, we need you to go to take as the provost marshal at the with the 82nd Airborne in Nasiriyah at Kab Adder." This deployment is what got me. It was tough. There was over 12,000 people on base at
What year is
Kab
this right
Adder.
now? What year?
This was 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So it was Kab Adder is just a huge, it's a huge base, logistic hub, airfield, convoys, fuel depot, everything, and massive base. And man, we got hit a lot. you always hear about, Mortaritaville up in northern Iraq, but we were in southern Iraq. We were just taking rockets left and right. We had a rocket hit about 30 meters from my hooch one night, destroyed 15 really good steel shoes. I was part of a rescue for a Army sergeant who was trapped inside one of the shoes, and I took a really bad blast.
For people who don't know, I just want to explain a chew. So a chew, when we're deployed, if you look at the back of a semi truck, you've got the big connexes. Basically, they take one of those connexes, put it on the ground, cut some windows and a door, and call it good. And then some of them, if you're lucky, have AC units. Other ones don't. But that's what I was in when I was deployed too. So.
Yeah, the container housing units there. I mean, they were almost not even 6 months old. They were all nice. They were air conditioned. Heck, some of them had bathrooms inside of them, which was
wow,
a huge bonus. Yeah,
that's fancy.
You guys are saying fancy. We didn't have none of that in 2010.
I know. Yeah, I started off in a nasty little OD green tent at one point.
We were lucky. We were the medics, and we had all
talking about 18 shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some people have the big tents. Some people have the big tents. Yeah.
Yeah. So we tried to go through the front of the housing unit, and those things are stupid. They lock from the inside, which is good for some reasons and other things like that. So we couldn't get in. Me and my senior master sergeant at the time, we ran to the back, and there was a window, and I took off my helmet, smashed the back of the window, and then everything that was inside there, the overpressure and everything, just blew up in my face.
Wow.
We were able to get somebody.
Something in there? Was it just pressurizing?
Yeah,
I mean
it whatever it was, but when the window smashed, everything came out. The smoke, part of a flame, everything pushed me back about 4 feet on the ground. Time I got up, and felt like I had a big old shard of something in my eye. One of the Army soldiers was actually able to climb through the window, and then he was able to kick the door open from the inside. And a Army sergeant was, she came out. She was in a robe. She had, a towel over her face. She took some smoke, and after that, I went to the hospital. We got taken to the hospital by the medics. Spent the night in the ICU there, and she was actually in the ICU there too. I had both eyes wrapped up, and I was in there for about 18 hours, oxygen, all kinds of stuff like that. So we had I want to say 6 or 7 rockets that day. Luckily, nobody was killed. We had a lot of people injured, but nobody killed. And then a week later, I was getting up early in the morning, getting ready. I had one boot on when the first, you hear that bang. When you hear the bang, when you hear the boom, that if that's a good thing for you, because it didn't hit you. Excuse me.
Yeah, but it's the thought in your head though of who did it hit.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, you're correct. And then you hear a little bit one closer and closer. I put my radio on, and they said, "Hey, a rocket hit the main gate area." And I had 13 people up there that worked for me. I had canine handlers or military working dog handlers up there. So, I listened for a few seconds, didn't hear anything, and I ran out, jumped in my truck, and started heading to the main gate. And if you ever been on Cobb Adder at that base, the Great Ziggurat of Ur, which is a huge temple at the time, 4,000 years old. You could see it from everywhere on base and everything. It's almost like a pyramid, type of thing. And I just passed the ziggurat, and a vehicle right in front of me took a rocket to the passenger side, picked it up, spun it, immediately put the vehicle in flames. I did see one individual jump out, run out of the vehicle, run out of the truck. And then when I approached the truck, there was somebody dangling in and out of the truck on fire. I was able to pull him out, get him to just about 10 meters away. The vehicle was, they had thousands of rounds, 5.56, all types of different ammunition, because they were just popping off. And
oh gosh,
we were behind a berm, but that berm was not that. So he had some catastrophic injuries. He's 95% of his body was burned. Both eyes were gone, and he had a right amputation of his leg right below the right at his shin bone. I had my CLS bag with me. I had to run back to the truck. Saw what was going on in the truck at this point. There was an individual in the back seat that couldn't get out. So I knew that there was at least 3 people in that truck, maybe, or 4 people at this time in the truck. And, trying to call on the radio, and, that area there was notorious dead spot for radio transmissions. And for 47 minutes, it was me and Army Specialist Joel Tavera out there. The dude was so banged up, burned, everything. But man, he talked. We kept talking. I kept talking to him because I knew, if you keep talking, and Maria, you being, medical, if somebody's talking, they're breathing, they're cognitive. We talked about, football. We talked about his mom and dad. We talked about his childhood. And about 45 minutes later, I had put a tourniquet on him. I had put an IV into him. And we were still taking incoming rounds that were coming in, about 30, 50 meters away from us. So I was just like, hey man, if something happens here, it's going to happen to both of us. And after 45 minutes, it was actually like 47 minutes from the time I called to the time that the first medevac showed up, and it was rough. That put me in a tailspin. Ended up 3 Army individuals in the truck were killed. The other individual who jumped out of the truck, he had taken a piece of sheet metal from the blast that just went right into his brain and right out, but it cauterized everything when it did it. It was that big of a flash. So I got back from that deployment, and it was just the worst possible. Again, home wasn't good. Work wasn't good. Work wasn't good. Homework wasn't good. And it was a decision that, I just didn't know what happened to him. Ended up finding a article on him like 3 months later that said he was at Brooke Army Medical Center down in San Antonio at Fort Sam Houston. And I cold called there one day and got a hold of the Army liaison officer for him. And it was somebody that I actually worked with in Iraq, and we talked and everything. And then the next day I got a phone call from Joel's dad, Jose Tavera, a Marine. And he said, yeah, Joel was in a coma for 87 days. He came out, and all he talked about was an Air Force captain. So he remembered, and that was crazy. About 6 weeks later, I went down to Tampa. Joel got transferred to Tampa. Went to his Purple Heart ceremony that was attended by, the deputy commander of SOCOM, the deputy commander of CENTCOM. So it was an incredible event. Got to meet his mom and dad and Joel and his family, and it was just an incredible thing for me. And then my boss back home actually put me on a 3-month TDY to get mental health treatment in Tampa, So I was actually able to stay with I had my hotel, but I was able to see Joel, 3 or 4 times a week. I was able to do a job that I really enjoyed at CENTCOM, and that healing worked tremendous for me.
What kind of work did they have you? What kind of work did they have you doing? Like, were you in a program? Were you just doing individual therapy? Like, what did that entail?
I was doing individual therapy, but I also did a couple of group therapy sessions. It was all that cognitive stuff. So the biggest thing that they did for me was that I needed to do was write everything down. I had so many gaps. I had so many crazy things. And one thing that I didn't bring up, because I was so bad remembering specific details, was when I was trying to do his IV, his entire shoulder, his entire arm was just, was charred, melted. But the art, our battle uniforms had that extra layer of pocket right here. So I had ripped up all the way to his pocket, or up to his arm, and he had a cross, a tattoo that was not burned at all.
Wow.
And all then I saw was 412 in big letters. And I looked again, it was HEB for Hebrews 412. And I did at the time ask Joel what it was, and he gave me the entire verse that he remembered. Again, I didn't remember this until I did my
I've
therapy.
actually what's crazy, man, is I've heard this I've heard about Joel, and he's actually on a buddy of mine podcast, Van of Valor. They did a story of him as well. So
yeah, I was
wow. Small world. It's crazy, like, because I've totally heard about this. When you mentioned the name, that's why I went and looked him up. I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah. So for those of us that don't know the story, what is the Hebrews 4:12?
No, I don't know that part.
412 is my birthday.
Oh.
Wow.
And so 412 is my birthday. And I remember at the time, after 8 months later, like, oh my God, I remember that about your tattoo. And so it just hit me. I'm like, this kid's not going to die. I'm going to do everything possible for that.
It sounds like sorry. I just want to say, it sounds like throughout these traumas, you have been able to see God. You've been able to see God's hand in it. And like, we talk about on this program a lot, like Bryan and I are both Christian, right? But we encourage people, whatever you call your higher power, whatever higher power is yours, just recognizing that there is a power out there that wants us to live. And it sounds like you have had these beautiful moments during these really hard trials, that your higher power is showing you love in the way that you needed to see it. And I think that is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So going back to Tampa and Joel, and I know I'll get into a little, but that was just so many things. In a 3-month period, Joel went from being bedridden. I'm talking bedridden to we went to casinos, we went dancing, we did all this stuff. And when I left him,
the dude has had over 70 something surgeries.
Oh, I mean, it's over 100.
He's definitely the epitome of resilience. I mean,
absolutely.
He could have called, he could have said, forget about it a long time ago, but he is.
He's amazing. Story. And he's my best friend. I mean, literally we're best friends.
Wow.
And just through the years and through my recovery and, through my divorce, through everything, and then through meeting my current wife now, Sandy, the first time he met her, I was kind of concerned. I was like, what's Joel going to say? Because Joel is he tells it like it is. And within, 10 minutes, they were laughing together. They were crying together. They were dancing. They were, and he told me, he's like, hey, dude, I'm blind, but I know that this is a beautiful lady, and you better do something about it. And it's true to this day.
Sounds like he just has a really good spirit to himself still, too.
Yeah, just amazing. amazing spirit. And you talk about Van and Valor. I know Kevin Wallace. We were very, very well. And he did a segment on me also that was amazing. But through the years, my kids fell in love with Joel. They fell in love with, who he is. We've been to his house. He's been to our house. And you posted a picture a little bit ago of a ceremony where I was awarded the Air Force Commendation Medal with Valor for the incident with Joel. So he was able to come to San Antonio with his dad, and and then meeting my wife and meeting everything. Life was starting to work a lot better. I had those demons are still there, but it was going through treatments and understanding what my limitations were and everything. And it was good. Joel was unfortunately in the hospital when we got married, but his father Jose was in our wedding. So him and Mama T, Joel's mom. So
that photo I showed you,
just
is
the
that
tightness.
you in it? Is that you in it too?
Yeah.
No kidding, dude. Now I'm going to show it again because I didn't even know that. Are you? Was that you?
Yeah, that's me on the.
I just picked this
left.
thing out of. Wow, I just picked this out of nowhere, dude. I didn't even know. I mean, because I don't recognize.
Yeah, that's me.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. That's good. Probably 14 years ago.
Wow. So I imagine Joel's changed a lot since then as well, huh?
Oh, yeah. He like I said, he's gone through 100 and probably 130, 140 surgeries.
My goodness.
That is so awesome that you guys like for me, I helped out with a couple people in Iraq, right? But I never heard what happened after. And so you're kind of left you're left with feeling incomplete, right? There's no closure. And so I think that it's beautiful that you were able to have this closure and continue being connected with him.
Absolutely. I no kidding. Like 3 minutes before I logged in today, he had called me. I'm not, swear on the good man on that. He had called me, and so we're setting up his plans for my retirement, because he is a Fortune 500 speaker. He goes to everywhere, and sometimes I get to go with him, which is really, really great. And so it's just been really good.
Full circle, man. Full circle,
100%. So he's definitely going to be one of the speakers at my retirement.
I love these. I love the full circle stuff.
Yeah. So from one location, I was living in San Antonio now, and with my kids, 3 kids, and I answered a text on Match.com from this lady who decided she wanted to go out with me, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. So met her, and
what year is this now?
This is 2013.
Okay.
2013. So I got orders to command up at Cheyenne Mountain Air Base up in Colorado Springs. And one of the things that my wife is a very successful real estate agent in San Antonio. And, we were still boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. And when I told her I was moving to Colorado, she was like, "Oh, okay." We were living in a house, and I do have to correct you, Marie. We had 6 kids, so Sandy had 3 girls. I had 2 girls and a boy, but we had 5 of them in the house at one time. And now we have 6 grandchildren, so it's we're growing. And so I literally came home from work one day, and there was a letter on my pillow, and it said, "Hey, I love you. I know, we've done a lot together and everything," she said, "but I'm not moving to Colorado as your girlfriend." And it was like, okay. I already had a ring looked at. I was already planning it. So
not the letter I was expecting.
Yeah, not the letter I was expecting, but it was good. I think I needed that push. Commitment was tough for me because I wanted to make sure I was good in the head and body and spirit and everything. So we got engaged, and when we were looking at what would it be for her job in Colorado Springs, she'd have to go through Colorado licensing and this and that. And she's just like, well, what if I just look for other things that I could do? We started researching franchises, and she came across a company called Cruise Planners out of Florida. It's like the #1 travel franchisee out there. And we purchased a travel agency franchise. And, the timing was like right around when I got my medal. So I knew that we were going to have a military nexus. So
is this an online presence, or was there like a location for this?
So there are locations for it, but ours was, we do a 99.9% online. But if somebody wants to meet her and everything, she will go out and meet with them. It's a countrywide thing, so she could work anywhere and have clients anywhere. And so we started Valor Vacations in 2014, and it took off. It went really, really well. We had a lot of military people calling us and everything.
Did you guys have any background in this stuff, or you just kind of like swinging?
We like to. She, with all the travels I've done with, she's traveled all over the world. She's very good talking to people. She's really easy on the eyes, if I say so. So she has a great personality about her. And then we started in a couple of events that I went with Joel to. We met a couple guys that not sure if you guys know Dana Bowman, who's a double amputee. He was one of the Golden Knight parachute team who had a midair collision, lost both his legs. So he had an event down in Texas, and we met a couple guys that were running a nonprofit called Good Guys for the Good Guys and Good Gals, for Blue Skies for Good Guys and Gals. They were 2 Army Rangers, combat vets, and they ran a parachute company in Dayton, Ohio. And they would have 50 people come in for an event, and so we got to jump out of airplanes with these 2 brothers, and it was fantastic. And we started talking to them, and he talked to Sandy. He's just like, hey, I gotta do like 75 reservations over the next couple months. Is there any way you could help me? And Sandy was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, well, just let me know what the cost is. And she's like, well, I'll do it for free. And so that's how we got into nonprofits. We still didn't have Boots to Beaches at that time, but over the next 5 to 6 years, we started doing travel for 14 Medal of Honor recipients. We started, Marines that Lieutenant Cleve McCleary, who, he looks like the pirate, he patch on the eye, arm hook and everything. So she started doing travel for him. And so it just kind of grew and grew, and the business started getting bigger and bigger. But one of the things that I started noticing is like when an Army sergeant would call and be like, hey, I want to take my wife and kids on a Disney cruise. She'd price it out and come back, and it would be $17,000, $18,000. And he would only have about $12,000. So, it's tough to tell somebody that, but, what she would do is work with other nonprofits to say, hey, can we get some funds to help this guy get the Disney vacation? And so, but she was doing that on her back and out of her pocketbook all the time. And so, finally, after talking with one of the co-founders of Blue Skies, he's like, maybe it's time for you to do a nonprofit. And so that's where I started kicking around the idea of a nonprofit to not just help veterans and first responders and Gold Star families and veterans, but just try to get it as close to zero as possible. Now there
And you had to
are
build up like
laws
board.
that,
You had to go out and find
yeah,
board members and all that.
yeah.
You had to get your
Oh
five.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you had to do the 501c3. You had to do the Virginia is really weird, and there are laws out there. So when I say cost free, unfortunately, there are times where I can't. Like if you go on a cruise, I can't purchase your liquor package or something like that. So there are some times where, hey, if you want to drink, I don't promote drinking. I don't want to promote drinking, so we can't do that. So there's other things like that we have to be careful on. Follow the rules. So
Makes
there's that
sense.
little disclaimer on our site. Yeah, it's cost free, however, by all state rules and stuff like that. So so we started. I filed all the paperwork back in October, November of 2025. I was
Oh, so you're like
surprised.
brand new.
brand
new.
I mean,
Okay.
we've been doing this for 8 years,
Yeah,
but
but the
to
company
get
itself.
paperwork and
Yeah.
yeah,
Officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so officially, and I Chat GPT is a wonderful thing because I put everything together. It's somebody was like, it's going to take you 6 months. Well, in Virginia, you got to fill out this piece of paper, but you can't fill it out until you get this piece of paper, and you can't do it until you're approved here. So I Chat GPT'd everything, and the checklist that they gave me was all out of order. And so I made it in order, and within 2 months, we had our 501c3, we had our IRS tax exemption. I had my authorization to do liquor auctions and everything else. So and one of our first people that we helped out was Marine Gunny Deeds, Sam Deeds.
Yeah.
He was
We
he's
know
a
Gunny.
Yeah,
Love
okay,
Gunny.
so- yeah.
Shout
So
out to
Gunny and I,
Homefront Sit Rep.
yeah, there you go. So Gunny and I have known each other for over 10 years, and so he was coming in for an event to Washington D.C. and I contacted him, said, hey, we want to help, and our board had to vote, and so we helped April and him come into the event, and had dinner with them at the event and everything. So it was fantastic. So he was our number one person, and so it was great to hand him that check as our number one person. And then a couple weeks later, we helped sponsor.
Can I just say, I think that is perfect. He is an amazing person that deserves, people to help him out. That man, I was on their show, and I've talked about this on a different one. So they interviewed me on my show and let me talk about, some of the people I lost in Iraq. Within minutes, he had a jump scheduled because he works with Team Fast Tracks.
Yeah,
And
that's the guys I was talking about, the brothers.
Yes. And he had a jump set up for Aaron McClyman, who is somebody that means a lot to me that passed away over in Iraq. And then since then, he has done 2 other jumps for guys that went over a bridge while I was over there. Like, so I can't think of somebody that's more deserving to get support from you. And I think that's beautiful. And small world, like we're all kind of,
I was going to say
here.
the same thing. When you're in this business, you start knowing people, and yeah. So Gunny works at Team Fast Tracks, which is David Hart and his brother John Hart. They started. They're the Blue Skies. They're nonprofit at Team Fast Tracks.
Okay.
Blue Skies.
All right. So now I'm
yeah.
putting it all together because I actually put a note on here. So I need to put on here Team Fast Tracks. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they have an amazing event every year that we go to, and that was the event I told you about that we started, that we do all the travel for that event.
What's the event called?
It's fantastic. The event is called Warrior Weekend to Remember.
Warrior Weekend to Remember.
And it's held in Middletown, Ohio, just outside of Dayton.
How can people get information on that?
So you can go to their website. The website is Blue Skies for Good Guys and Gals. And if you type in that in Warrior Weekend to Remember, you'll be able to find it. And they have a Facebook page and everything else too. Okay. Or I could send it to you afterwards here.
Yeah.
Great event.
You can attach it to your interview.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to, we tried to figure out, when you fill out all that paperwork, you got to come up with a name. And there were so many different names. People were like, hey, how about this? How about this? And, they were trying, somebody was saying, what's the meat of your thing? I'm like, well, I want people to go on a cruise. I want people to go to a beach. I want people to do this. And I started, just writing things down, and I just looked down at my boots that I just took off from work that day. And I said, boots to beaches. And I had to look it up to see if anybody else had it, looked at the website to see if anybody had boots to beaches. I had to look at all these. And in Virginia, I that was one of the things that you put through your name or your pseudonym name and everything. And, it popped up green. And so I took it. And that's how the name came about.
My Marine Corps head goes to Boats and Hose. If you guys watch Step Brothers, if you guys watch Step Brothers,
Boats and Hose.
I can't my brain, and I see the damn yacht in the background. I just
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And so our second event.
I think that's. Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think that's a very catchy
saying.
saying.
That.
Boots to beaches, and I like that a lot, because it's like, okay,
thank you.
Take off your boots, stick your toes in the sand, and touch dirt, and let's keep going. I love it. That's beautiful.
Awesome, thank you. And so I formed, had to get a board. We got some amazing people on my board: combat veterans, civilians. Who didn't serve, but know the sacrifices and other things like that. And our second event that we did, Dave Hart, who's the Team Fast Tracks, he contacted me and said, hey, I'm bringing in 9 Vietnam veterans to the Welcome Home Gary Sinise Foundation ceremony at the National Mall. And we were able to help him, front some of those costs for those guys. And, they were just amazing gentlemen. One of them was crashed, or he was shot down in Vietnam, and did 5 years in the Hanoi Hilton. And being able to sit with him and everything was just fantastic. But we're growing. Fundraising is happening. It's happening slowly. Usually foundations have to have a year in the books to. People always want to look at our $11.99 from last year, but we haven't had one yet. So we do have some people out there that are donating, and it's helping us out. And it's on the bootstobeaches.org website there. You could donate by clicking on the site there, or contacting us. We are looking for corporate sponsors. They definitely provided
different ways to go about it. You guys can. There's a donation page, mail-in donations, peer-to-peer, event fundraisings, corporate giving, matching gifts, stock gifts, in-kind donations. So they've definitely put out a lot of different avenues. That's great.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for putting that up. Can
you give us just 1 second? Sorry. To pause for a second to let it finish.
Sorry about that.
No, you guys are good. It's
the good wife is in there making my dinner.
No, it's all good. I was just kind of we're ignoring it, but we're
sorry.
Good. It's all good. No, it's all good. There we go.
Life happens. What can you say?
Oh,
there's Gunny D's right there.
Oh, that's
here we
awesome.
go. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
And then
there we go.
Okay. All right, we're all over the place. Okay.
We're having fun. No, this has been like super fantastic as you've been, kind of talking to us about what you're doing. It's beautiful. And there's Gunny. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then there's the Vietnam vets that we were able to provide breakfast for and everything. So
what are your
there's the bride, I imagine.
Yep, that's her.
Yeah,
as we're getting ready to close up, what are kind of some of your future plans for yourself, for the program, any other programs that you're thinking about? Kind of where do you see all of this heading?
So with me retiring in February, probably starting in December, we're going to start making our transition to Southwest Florida, where the business will be
A lot
good
more
for my
vacationing
wife.
out of that way, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's closer to home base for her in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. So I grew up on I lived on the west coast of Florida, so I really like that area there. So I will be full time with Boots and Beaches, and probably part time if my wife lets me with Valor Vacations. We got to make sure we don't blur everything on there, and we have to keep the nonprofit separate. But
So it sounds
she's
like when you retire,
fantastic.
you're hitting the floor running. You already have a plan.
Absolutely.
There's no, that's I think a lot of people when they transition, they don't really got a plan to get out, and don't really have anything to fall back on. But you're already got something, and that's kind of, I imagine, part of your goal was to have this kind of squared away, so that way when you did get out, you already basically had something to swing right into.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things for our business that we're blessed with is, we can make, donations. If somebody, does a vacation to Europe, my wife will take some of that commission that she makes and donate that back into the Boots to Beaches nonprofit. So that's something that we're blessed with. And
Awesome.
So so that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully full time starting in January, and then my retirement's in February. So hopefully I'll have enough leave and all my house hunting and everything done by then, and then just go right into that and see where that goes. And we're still going to support. We support over probably 7 or 8 different nonprofits across the country with their with helping them out with airfare. So our goal for Boots to Beaches is to this year. I mean, we've already helped, around 15 to 16 veterans, but I would like to do a nice big vacation for somebody for their family. We got like 67 applications already for people to go, and you can find that on bootstobeaches.org where you could apply, or if you want to volunteer for events and everything. That's great. So our goal this year is to do two vacations, but with us doing smaller things, we were able to help out 15, 16 our Vietnam veterans and Sam and everybody else, Gulf War veterans and Iraqi veterans. So next year, hopefully, we're going to get the ball rolling a little bit more on our fundraising. And we're going to have a event up in Ohio, our first Boots to Beaches Gala, where we'll have people come in some beach attire and have that. And one of our board members or one of our ambassadors is former prisoner of war Jessica Lynch.
I've awesome!
Jessica.
We've talked about her on here.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
So I've known
she's
Jessica
on your
for
board?
years. She's our ambassador. She's one of our ambassadors. So count her on our board. I've known Jessica for a while, met her years ago. I brought her in for an event at work before. So she saw what we were doing and immediately said, I'm in, whatever I got to do. So her story is fantastic. And, it's heart-wrenching. It's everything.
I was over there during that period in time. Jessica Lynch was definitely a story we all are familiar with.
Absolutely. The story that came out wasn't exactly true, and she came forward and said that's not what happened and everything else. But just the things that happened to her over there, just the unspeakable things. But
for those who've never heard of her, she was a POW for a while, and
in
she just has
2003.
an amazing story.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so we have some other people that some high-profile individuals who are stepping up in. We're going to have them come to our event in Ohio next year. So we're planning that. It's going to be a good time. And so our goal is to hopefully next year have 5 vacations. Vacations run from 8,000 to 15,000 and stuff like that. Now, if somebody's like, hey, I want to take my wife on a 16-day European cruise. That's not what we're here for.
So are these
that's
mainly cruises, or are they like
anything.
exclusive? Like if you want to go to a hotel, like a
Yeah.
resort somewhere in Florida, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, whatever what they would like to do. Our thing is we have a clinical, or we have a marriage and family counselor, Miss Susie Landolfi. She's world renowned. She does a lot of stuff, and she's on our board. So, and then we have a wellness coach, Mr. Christopher Jones. So every time that we're getting ready to select a person, they have to talk to them before the event, and then they're going to talk to them after. Because some of the things that I noticed just from me going with Joel, going to different places, everybody's like, yeah, we want you to come. We want you to come. You do an event, and then you never hear from them again until the next year when they want you to come in and speak and get, hopefully raise money for them. I don't want to do that. And that was one thing that my wife and I really wanted to make sure that, the people that are picked, that we have a rubric with, 20 questions and everything that they have to go through. Again, we want to help out the people. Like if people coming back now from the where their bases were hit by the drones and stuff like that. I don't want them to go through stuff that I did. I want them to, hey, here's 5 days, go to Disney World or something like that with the family, and don't get in your head, or you and your wife are having problems and stuff like that. But hey, go to Sandals for 5 days. Yeah. And then they have to talk to our marriage counselor and talk to our wellness coach and stuff like that.
I like that. Now, I imagine too, they're also going on your guys' name. I mean, I imagine too, right? Or do they go as their own? I mean, how does that package work? Is it under your Boots to Beaches, or is it you guys individually, pay for these things and give it to them, or how does that part work in terms of?
Yeah, so that's how we're our for-profit business. So my wife is fantastic. She's going to be part of, she's going to be looking at what people are trying to do. Like if they say, hey, I want to go to a dude ranch with my son in Utah or Colorado, she has those resources to look up, to find places, and then she'll work it, find out prices from the individuals at those places, and we'll pay for it, and they'll be able to go there on the from the fundraising that we've done through Boots to Beaches. And if there is any commission coming back, it goes right to Boots to Beaches.
So Kevin, I know that we could talk to you for like hours and hours about what you're doing, more about your story, but I know that we're going to have to kind of like close up here. But I want to thank you so much for having you come on the show. And I'm going to send you a scheduling link because I'd like to do some collaborations. There's a lot of programs that I think that you guys could work with and collaborate and incorporate and support each other. And that's what we do, right? When we're in the advocacy realm, we collaborate. And one thing that I do is I'm a veteran and recovery advocate. And so I like to connect resources and people. So I'm going to be sending you a link to that. And at some point, if you are interested, we would love to have you come back on here to give us an update next year when you get your retirement and when you start, getting into this stuff full time. We want to see we want to continue following your work and what you're doing, because this is fantastic. And it's been so beautiful to hear how you've been through some traumas that really could have torn you down. And instead of letting it tear you down, you saw the beauty of the spiritual elements that were involved with all of this. You reached out for help. You allowed people to support you, to advocate for you. And then you turned around and started advocating for other people. And I think that it's so beautiful and fantastic. And I think I speak for Bryan and I and all of our listeners with just saying thank you so much for being here and being willing to share. And we're excited to kind of, follow you on your journey.
I definitely appreciate it. This has been fantastic. It's, 2 hours just flew by here. So, and like you said, yeah, like you said, the community is amazing. And, you mentioned so many people, the Band of Valor, the Team Fast Tracks. I've known all those guys for 10, 15, 10, 12 years. And,
at least we know we're all in good company then,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's like, yeah, man, we got some good things happening. So I definitely
we appreciate you. And for all the listeners out there that maybe you guys are just listening to this on the audio side, please go check out bootstobeaches.org. Once again, that's bootstobeaches.org. And I will also put that in the description of the show as well. Kevin, we are very appreciative of you coming on and taking the opportunity and talk about everything you've gone through. Even the loss of your child. I know that stuff is very hard to talk about, but you know what? It's important that we share our stories with others. We never know who your story could directly, link up to somewhere or another, right? And it's wild. And that's just, once again, we want to tell you guys out there, you got a story yourself, please share it with us. Don't let it go unheard. But Kevin, we thank you so much for you coming on, brother. And we'll be right back there. Go ahead and enjoy some crayons and the back room, and we'll be right back there with you. Okay. All right, friends and family. I think I actually sent him back a little bit early, but he was saying thank you. And once again, I just want to really emphasize telling your story and the importance of it, right? Like, not only is it important for you to get your story out there, but it may be important for someone else, right? Like, there's so many stories that someone comes on and they talk about, and I'm like, dude, I was over there at that time frame, and it's awesome. It's awesome to kind of hear a different perspective of what they were experiencing at the same time while you were over there as well. So sometimes when you might be telling these stories and you talk about places you've been or things you've gone through, it might resonate with someone out there like, dude, I was there, but I was the person on this end, or I was doing this during that mission. So it's just, I love it. And like it's such a small community. And once you start talking and you start mentioning names and things, you're like, oh, we all know each other, it's great. I love seeing the full circle of all of it.
Yeah.
But all right, Marie, I think we've held everybody up long enough. And we just want to say, though, thank you guys so much for supporting the show, continuing to allow these stories to get out there. And, let's support our brothers and sisters. Tear them, let's bring them up, not tear them down. And y'all keep kicking ass out there. Don't let the day kick your ass. All right. We'll see you on the next one.
Check out sliderbabe.com.
Yes. If you guys also want to schedule and get on the show as well, go to sliderbabe.com. Go check out Marie's awesome poetry, her pictures. Check out some of the show. It's a one place, one shop stop. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one. All right.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.